want to thank everybody who's been with me, my Xbox clan.
When Kobe going back to play Madison Square Garden, and he's like, hey, hook me up with dinner with Heath Ledger.
Like Russell Westbrook, that was a great feat the other day. I couldn't even tweet it out.
It's Coach Frank Vogel here, full of enthusiasm and positive energy.
Ask me what I like to play with Kevin Durant. Ask me about Kyrie Irving, Giannis. Ask me about Embiid, Ben Simmons. Go ahead, all of them.
There was a time when the Israelites were wandering in the desert and all of a sudden bread came down from heaven. That's kind of what today feels like to have KCP join.
Welcome back to another free episode of Bulls vs. Blazers. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, Google, anywhere else you can find podcasts. Make sure you subscribe, rate, review, all of that. You can subscribe to our special Patreon feed where you get an extra episode per week at patreon.com/BullsVBlazers. That is just $3 a month for an extra episode every week. That's twice as much content.
Quality content.
It's actually extra quality content right now because we've been reading Skip Bayless's White book, which is tremendous.
It's phenomenal.
It's fantastic. Anyway, you probably already know where to find us on other platforms at this point. Sean Highkin, Erik Gundersen, you know the drill. What's going on?
Not much, man. We've had some amazing turnarounds in some series, and some turnarounds that have been a little lopsided.
And some series that maybe haven't turned around the way that some people had hoped they would.
Right, exactly. So we have a lot of things going on. We have one second round series already set, and then we have one that's basically already set.
Yeah, in the East.
And then tonight we had the Lakers continuing to just ratchet up the pressure and like almost like steadily like slowly building.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I feel like they just were nothing for a while, and now they're just, the beat was a little silent, and now it's building right back up, and it's like, oh wait, LeBron, Anthony Davis, these guys, and their defense has been phenomenal. I gotta say, I mean, the Lakers right now, especially compared to the Clippers, obviously these are the throes of a series, but they got to be feeling pretty good right now when they see the Clippers now all of a sudden in a battle with the hottest player in the NBA, Luka Doncic.
I just want to say something to you quickly, Erik.
Yes.
I just want to wish you and your family and all your loved ones a happy Mamba Day.
Thank you. Thank you for wishing me a happy made-up holiday that Nike created solely for the express purpose of selling merch and for the express purposes of doing capitalism. They created this day because Mamba Day didn't exist until Nike came along and made it something.
Were you able to get a pair of the shoes on the sneakers app?
No, I didn't try, but I know a lot of people that did try that did not get the merch. That they were hoping for, but unfortunately,
people were really upset about it.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, listen, I understand that he has passed away, but like Nike was built off of a guy named Steve Prefontaine, whose like legacy is dying before his prime. So, I'm just gonna throw that out there. Like Nike has always been built on like death and legacies and capital, and like it's messed up, but like that's what it is, unfortunately.
I have another point to add to that, which is that shamelessly profiting off of somebody's death and screwing over whoever's in front of you is actually Mamba mentality, if you really think about it.
Yeah, that's also true. That is truthfully what the Mamba mentality actually is. So I feel like they honored Kobe Bryant and listen, the Lakers, they did a much better job tonight responding to the pressure. I thought LeBron just continues to just get a little bit better every game, and you just hope that Dame Lillard is okay. That's I think the biggest takeaway for me is just hoping that Lillard and his knee that he had to go get an MRI on is not seriously injured.
Yeah, we should get some kind of update on that. Maybe while we're recording, maybe tomorrow. We're recording this basically right after Game 4, so we still don't know what's going on with Dame yet. But obviously, we hope that that's not serious. I would imagine that just given the way the series is, if there's any question about it, he probably doesn't play.
Yeah. Given that it is where it is right now. I want to give credit to Jusuf Nurkic. I thought that he responded after having a really bad game in Game 3. I thought he did a good job, but I just think the Blazers as a whole just did not have it tonight. And I think credit to the Lakers. I think they were building. Whereas like I feel like the Clippers looked really good in those seeding games, and it seems like now all of a sudden they don't have another gear to get to. And I don't know. I kind of want to talk about that Luka Clippers series because I feel like it's the most compelling one that we have now.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's easily the best first round series. Like I know that OKC Houston got tied up today, which by the way, my Thunder looking a little bit better than they were before. But
yeah, shout out to your Thunder.
Yeah, I mean, like, which I'm obviously happy about that, but like that series hasn't actually even like been that interesting, except the way Houston has kind of melted down in the clutch in a couple of games is a little concerning. But yeah, the only one of these first round series that's really worth talking about in any depth is the Clippers Mavs one, just because I mean the thing is, I mean Luka is just incredible, and we saw that was like one of the best playoff performances I've ever seen.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch the whole. I didn't get to watch the end of it. I actually went floating. I was in an isolation tank getting my.
Were you going to float on?
I did go to float on.
Are they back open?
They are back open. They have lots of social distancing protocols.
Okay. So when the pandemic first hit, they had like this discounted rate where you could book one for like $50 and just redeem it whenever they reopened.
Uh-huh.
So I have one of those in the bank in terms of like I have a float that I have paid for that I could use at some point. I'm thinking after the finals is over and after kind of we're done with the grind, especially now that it seems like the draft and free agency aren't going to start like 2 days after the finals anymore. I might just like after the last game of the finals, I might just go cash that in at that point. But I'm glad to hear that they're back functioning and that they have kind of the proper protocols in place.
Yeah, I honestly really enjoyed it. It felt like I just deleted a bunch of games from and thoughts from my brain. It was pretty tight.
Yeah.
I was glad that I did that, but I missed back to the point of the Luka Clippers game. I missed the overtime and I missed the last minute of the fourth quarter as well. So when I got home, I watched it and I was just like, oh my God. And then when I saw Playoff P miss so he made a layup, then a couple possessions later he had another layup attempt and he came up short, and I was just like, oh my God, like I'm starting to feel bad, like it's not blocking at this point.
Well, did you see what happened today that they're hoping is going to be the key to everything being fixed with him?
Well, I saw that he turned off his comments on Instagram.
He turned off comments on his Instagram. That should do it. JaMychal Green said in an interview,
oh my God, that
they are all trying to convince him to just log off and not read the comments and not read what people say, which it's definitely a great sign that, the guy, the superstar that your team traded for and gave up a ton of draft picks and one of the best young players in the NBA in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to build a super team along with Kawhi Leonard, has to be told to not look at his Twitter mentions during the playoffs after 2 consecutive years where he talked a big game about being playoff P and then completely melted down. Like
in the first round.
None of that is great.
No. It feels like the early series vibes that were on the Lakers have now gone across the hall and have just infested playoff P and the Clippers to an extent. Because, listen, Kawhi Leonard played a great offensive game, but let's call a spade a spade. My guy was ducking. He did not want the smoke on Luka in the last play of the game.
They switched Reggie Jackson onto him.
He switched. And also earlier in the overtime, Luka swings it to Maxi Kleber, who's not a good shooter. He's the stretch four that doesn't make threes. Maxi Kleber.
German Myers-Leonard, as some have called him.
Some have called him German Myers-Leonard. Listen, better defensively, worse a shooter than Myers-Leonard. I'm just going to say that.
Shout out to anybody from Draft Twitter who might be listening to this.
Yeah,
that's just for you.
That's all for Draft Twitter, yeah. So just realize where we are right now. But Kawhi stunts over to Maxi after he catches the ball at the top of the key at the 3-point line above the break, whatever you want to call it. And he leaves Luka open, and Maxi Kleber's like, hot potato, get it out of my hands. And Luka has a clear drive to the lane for a right-handed layup to take the lead. And then only a couple of possessions later, Marcus Morris hits that three off of the pass from Kawhi to take the lead. But, I mean, Kawhi multiple times in that overtime was just like making mistakes that you're like, you just don't expect Kawhi Leonard to do. And like, especially when he switches off of Luka, it's like, what's the point of having Kawhi Leonard if he's going to switch off of Luka on that play?
That's the whole thing. Like, that's literally what they brought Kawhi in to do. I mean, their whole idea was, we got Kawhi and Paul George. We have two of the probably three best perimeter defenders in the NBA, and they're on the same team, and nobody's going to be able to score on us. And at this point, in these situations when it's a playoff game that they could go up 3-1, or the series is tied 2-2, and Paul George is clearly not himself with the shoulder. I don't want to harp on playoff P too much because, the jokes are kind of just too easy. But, when you're Kawhi Leonard, you're the 2-time finals MVP, you're the claw, you're all of this. Like, you need to be on Luka on that possession. You need to be the one checking it. And he just, they switched Reggie Jackson onto him. And I don't know if that's on Kawhi or if that's on Doc or what, but that should never have happened.
It shouldn't. Listen, this is the NBA. This is a superstars league. I don't want to, if that was LeBron switching off of Luka on that play and he hits it, LeBron's getting roasted the next day. It's like, it's the two NBAs. LeBron's coming to LA to do this and that, and he's not checking it when the time comes. And to me, Kawhi needs to take charge in that moment and be like, you guys brought me in. You guys traded hell and everything to bring me in. I'm taking Luka. And I'm a little worried about the Clippers, man. And I was worried about them during the regular season. I said this earlier. I said this in January. I believed in the Raptors more than I believed in the Clippers. And right now they're proving me right. And this was without Porzingis. And Trey Burke and Seth Curry are running circles around PG and everybody else on the Clippers. It's insane.
It would be one thing, going back to that final shot where Kawhi wasn't checking Luka. It would be one thing if the player that they had switched onto Luka was if they had a perimeter defensive specialist like Tony Allen on those Memphis teams or something, where
they had Rodney. They had Rodney Magruder just sitting on the bench.
Right, sure. I mean, Rodney Magruder is no Tony Allen, but he's still a better defender than Reggie Jackson. Or if you had I don't know, Luol Deng back on those Bulls teams, or somebody even if it's not a superstar, if it's just somebody who you know that you're putting that person on the floor to be able to lock somebody out, or even if they had Lou Dort from Oklahoma City, who's basically been locking down Harden the last couple of games, if he was out there or somebody of that ilk was out there, I would have been okay, they didn't put Kawhi on him, but at least they put somebody else. They switched him out for Reggie Jackson. What are we even doing here?
Yeah, and I think obviously, whatever Doc was telling them was not the right call, and the post-game questions were asking Doc, do you think you did the right thing? And Doc was like, well, yeah, the shot went in, so of course we wish we did something different. But, and Doc is the best. Doc is the best when it comes to that stuff, because it is true. It's he probably would not have done anything different if that shot doesn't go in, but it did. And it's listen, Luka had saw the ball go in possession after possession. He wasn't just hitting jumpers. He was getting to the lane. He was hitting shots, and Reggie Jackson let him get to that they let him get to his left hand to the step back to the left, and like that's his shot. Like that's his like go-to bucket move, and he got to it. And I'm so glad that Luka was just like that. Also, Luka like really tried to not play into this bullshit controversy.
Yeah,
that they created.
That's maybe the dumbest NBA controversy of the last 5 years. Like, can you think of one that's worse? I haven't like thought about it in depth, but like, I just can't think of anything that's more like just plays into the worst aspects of the sports discourse. Like, we had, I literally looked, just out of curiosity, I looked on the timeline of Clay Travis today. And of course, he did a whole thing on his radio show, like a whole segment, about how the NBA is a racist league. And if the roles had been reversed and Luka had said something to some black player, that he would have been suspended for the rest of the year. And that's literally verbatim the argument that Mark Jackson was making on the broadcast last night. It's like, these people, like these, these bad faith things, the same people who were like playing up Ethan's, article last week about how ratings are down because they're putting social justice slogans on the jerseys. Those people were never going to respect you or watch the NBA in the first place. Like, and people are just kind of like catering to them. And honestly, like the Inside the NBA folks on TNT last night, who normally do a really good job discussing like, the reason that Inside the NBA is so great is because they know how to take the serious stuff seriously, but then also joke around about the silly stuff. But on this one, like Ernie Johnson was literally talking about like how the NBA should have put out a statement saying that what Montrezl Harrell said to Luka was unacceptable. It's like, come on, man.
I have to say though, the videos of the edits that came out of Ernie Johnson saying "bitch ass white boy" were like some of the greatest videos that I've seen this year. So for that reason, I'm happy that they talked about it. But I totally agree. Like, listen,
the one that I didn't tweet was that's what Ernie Johnson should say to somebody who wrote in John Kasich in the election.
Yeah, he wouldn't say that though. But I feel like, listen, someone calling you white is not a fucking derogatory thing. Like, especially if you're white. Like, I and you play basketball. Like, I've been called like Jokic or whatever. Like, people like, oh, Jokic got it. Like, don't let Jokic shoot it or whatever. Because I'm like,
well, I think it's because if your name is Erik Gundersen, which like if you use the Garcìa middle name professionally, and that like, I mean that like makes it a little bit more obvious what your background is, but you also don't like you don't have an accent. You just you're very like for a Latinx person, you're very white passing, and so like
I know.
Yeah.
But also like I play hoops and also I cover the sport and one time I was at a practice, like it was probably my first year on the beat during the Blazers, like working at the newspaper, and I saw Thomas Robinson going through a workout with David Vanterpool, and Vanterpool strips Thomas Robinson, and I laughed, and Thomas Robinson heard me, and he turns around and he goes, "What you laughing at, Ben Affleck?" And like and like
honestly, there are worse people you could be compared to looks wise,
right? But it's like there's like a whole meme. It's like, you white, you Ben Affleck, and so it's like, and so Thomas Robinson is like, "What you laughing at, Ben Affleck?" And so like, and like, listen, I had to give him props because I was laughing when he's going through a workout, like an NBA workout, and it's like if I was out there, he would bust my ass. So like I should have been shut up because I was laughing, and B, like, it is what it is, and it's just like when you're out there, like you just talk and you play, and it doesn't fucking matter, and it's just like it's just like no one cares, like, and it's like if you're really about it and you're really about playing, like you don't give a shit, like, and that's why like Luka was just like didn't even entertain it, and like I guarantee you the only reason he went up to Montrezl after was for the cameras, just so that everyone else would see.
Luka does not care. And to Luka's credit, Luka is not leaning into this at all. Like, I think Luka, I don't know Luka at all. Like, I've only ever like dealt with him in one or two like group scrum things, but like, I don't think he's been like very open about this stuff. But if I had to guess, just because of like the way he carries himself and stuff, I don't think he likes the idea of like being the great white hope for the NBA. I think he's probably very annoyed that the only player that anybody ever compares him to is Larry Bird. Like, if I had to guess, Luka is probably like he probably doesn't want people like Clay Travis or other people of that ilk like caping for him or defending his honor against Montrezl Harrell saying something. And it's like, okay, look, yes, if a white player had called a black player the N-word, yes, that player should be suspended. That player should be like, because it's a totally different thing. Like, this is so, like, the people who are acting like it's a false equivalency are just like, they're only doing it in bad faith. They're only doing it because they want a way to call the black league something hypocritical. It's the same people, like same thing as like people who bring up the China stuff. Like, yes, the way that the NBA has this relationship with China is an issue, and it's something that the NBA should be better on. But the people that bring it up are the people who will only bring it up because they want to diminish the Black Lives Matter stuff, or they want to find a way to say, hey, the NBA is the black league, so let's say how they're hypocritical. Like, this is the same thing.
Yeah, but it's like, wait a minute, like American capitalism still does the same thing everywhere. And it's like every American business is in China using their relationship with the Chinese government. And so if you like want to really like, or if we're going to boycott, then we have to boycott literally every American business there is. Like you and I recording these on Apple computers, like we're done. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so it is really like the NBA, obviously, like they have their own issues, but it's like they have no more issues than any other entity that uses money, because this is the way that business is done, unfortunately. And so,
the NBA's politics are actually pretty middle of the road. This is a point that I brought up after, Ethan's thing came out and and everybody was like talking about the ratings. It's like the NBA is not this far left organization. They seem like they're more progressive than other sports leagues because their competition for the title of the most progressive sports league is the NFL and Major League Baseball, both of whom actively like court Trump supporters.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just, it's not a real issue.
Like the NBA allowing, them to put slogans on the jerseys or like putting Black Lives Matter on the court. Like, that's cool if the players are taking advantage of that. But it's literally like from like an actual like effectiveness standpoint, it's literally the same thing as like Nancy Pelosi putting on a dashiki and like kneeling on the floor of the Senate or whatever. Like that whole, like, it's literally the same thing as that. Like, it's the most, like, the NBA would not be allowing this stuff if they didn't think that it would ultimately make them money. Like, this is like, that's the thing. Like, that's the thing that, people like Clay Travis or whoever, like, intentionally kind of miss that point of, like, yes, the NBA is doing this. Like, you think Nike didn't focus group the hell out of their decision to sign Colin Kaepernick to an endorsement deal before they did it?
Yeah, of course. They definitely did it. They knew it would make them money. I think we have an opportunity though to do a quick vibe check. Around the league. And first of all, I think we should start with the teams that we will no longer be vibing with for the duration of the bubble. The Brooklyn Nets are done. They were eliminated today. Shout out to their families.
Yeah. I mean, they tried. Everybody knew that they weren't really going to do anything because they didn't have like 2/3 of their players. I hope Jacques Vaughn gets a shot at the actual head coaching job. I think he deserves it. Those guys clearly play hard for him. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Nets vibes are overall good, although I'm curious to see how everything looks once Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are healthy and in the mix, because they could either be a juggernaut or it could just be a complete mess where it's like, okay, they retain Jacques Vaughn, like they bring Jacques Vaughn back, and all the role players and all the guys from the bubble play hard for him, and Katie and Kyrie kind of check out because they want Mark Jackson or whoever. Like, I could see that going one of two ways.
Right. No, I'm of the opinion that I think that it will work out well. One thing that I found interesting today, and we'll get this, I'm just going to loop into the next shout out to their families of the Philadelphia 76ers who were eliminated today, and Brett Brown, who was fired. But the Ty Lue rumors today that there is a mutual interest between Ty and the Sixers, and
I mean, Ty's going to get whichever of these jobs he wants. All of these teams are going to be interested in him, and he's going to have his pick of them.
If you were him, though, I mean, listen, I have talked up the Brooklyn job majorly, but if I'm him, I would much rather have the Philadelphia job because you have at least 2 young-ish stars that really have not known what it is like to win, and you could kind of mold them in your own way. You go into Brooklyn, you're going to be dealing with what it is KD and Kyrie's way.
And Ty Lue kind of has that credibility from, he's LeBron's guy, and Ben Simmons. First of all, Ben Simmons is clutch.
Yeah, and he's LeBron's mentee, basically.
And we know that LeBron likes Ty Lue because LeBron wanted him for the Lakers job when they fired Luke Walton last year. And so, LeBron will probably be telling Ben Simmons good things about Ty Lue, and so Ben Simmons is going to be down. And Joel Embiid is just going to respect him because I just get the sense that Embiid respects, okay, this guy is like LeBron likes this guy. Like, this guy won a championship as a head coach. Like, this is a guy who comes in with some credibility. And so I could see it. And also, if you're any coach, you have to think, I mean, as much as Brett Brown, I think is a good coach. And I think he kind of got a raw deal. I think it was probably time for them to move on. I don't want to feel so sorry for Brett Brown because, he was there for 7 years, and that's a long time for a coach to be somewhere if you're not like Greg Popovich or Erik Spoelstra.
And I think he had three or 4 years where they were good, or at least 3 seasons when they were good. So it's not like he was only the coach during the process. Like, he actually got plenty of time to coach a team that was good.
Yeah. So and he's going to get another job somewhere because he has the reputation around the league as the guy who, A, he's a pop guy originally, and B, he sought out, he waited out the process and he got them through that. And I think a lot of people around the league have a lot of respect for him. So he'll be fine. But if you're any coach, you have to look at that situation and say, we have Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid who have the potential to both be top 10 players in the league in terms of talent. If they just give him an even more any kind of competent supporting cast, any supporting cast that fits better around them than Tobias Harris and Al Horford making, a combined $80 million a year or whatever. Any coach has to feel like I can make this work with these two guys because they're so talented. And that has to be the most attractive option for any of these guys.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. And another team that we have to shout out to their families, the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah.
They're done.
Shout out to Nate.
Shout out to TJ Warren, all bubble team squad.
Bubble day old runner up.
Yeah. Really good group. But they're going home.
They didn't have Sabonis. You can't really.
Yeah. We knew this. We knew it was going to be a wrap when the series started. Too. Yes. Although Jimmy Butler does not look very healthy right now. That is one concern I would have about the Heat going into that series against the Raptors is I'm a little worried about Jimmy Butler's health right now.
I didn't see. I was half paying attention to that game. I had other stuff going on during that game. What happened with his shoulder?
He was just basically a decoy. He played through it, but he was basically a decoy out there. He wasn't taking shots. He was setting guys up, and they won, but he just didn't. He wasn't the killer Jimmy Butler that we're used to. He was just kind of out there, doing little things and kind of, like I said, being a decoy.
Have they? They're playing Milwaukee in the next round, right?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Assuming Milwaukee.
Milwaukee went up 3-1 away today.
Right. But so what that means is Milwaukee has another day where they're gonna in 2 days they're gonna probably close it out against Orlando, and then it's probably gonna be a few days after that before that series starts. So Jimmy's gonna have a few days to ice his shoulder and get right. So I feel and I also knowing Jimmy as well as I do and having covered him for several years in Chicago, and just he plays through stuff. I'm not that worried about him. I think he'll be okay.
All right. Yeah. No, I mean, I trust you. You've covered Jimmy a lot more than I have. We've talked about, we've done the Clippers, the Mavs vibe check. We haven't done Denver, Utah vibe check yet. I mean, Utah's vibes are off the charts at this point.
Yeah. We are officially, the Bulls vs. Blazers podcast is officially respecting the Jazz. I take no pleasure in reporting this, but we have no choice right now.
Jesus, I know it the Juwan Morgan start. First of all, that got him going. Then Mike Conley has come in and been playoff Rondo basically, where he just
he's just Fred VanVleet with the new dad energy.
Yeah, no, and listen, Mike Conley's performed great in the playoffs before, and I guess this is the guy that Utah gave up what they gave up to get, because he wasn't doing this during the regular season, but now he has stepped up in a major way. And
there's this concept that people have talked about. This is like a thing Bomani talks about a lot, like among other people, but some people are 82 game players and some people are 16 game players in terms of like who's like a good regular season player, but not like a great playoff player, where like, you know, it would seem that Paul George at this point in his career is one of those guys, or Tobias Harris, or, you know, some of these other guys. I think at this point, Mike Conley is a 16 game player. He's, you know, he wasn't very good this year. He looked like he was kind of washed, but now he's back. He's in the playoffs. He's been fantastic.
Yeah, no, I mean, you have to say that he's been great in these 2 games that he's come back, and he has looked like a 16 game player. Absolutely. And, yeah, I mean, I don't know what else can be said about Utah. And then as far as Denver is concerned, I mean, their defense is bad. I mean,
pour one out for the Fireball 4 title contenders.
Oh my God, yeah. They might as well start Bol at this point, because, I mean, I will say some of those plays from Game 3 from Jokic, where he's like not even taking a full stride, in like running back on the X out on defense, were like really bad. And I don't know, you know, maybe it's the bubble, whatever. I thought he played well in Game 4.
Maybe he's just mad that the Kroenkes made him fly commercial from Serbia to Orlando.
Yo, is he starting a dialogue about maybe wanting to be traded?
I don't know. I'm just,
I mean,
I don't know.
Keep your third eye open.
This is a podcast where we keep our third eye open, which,
just
by the way, going back to Philly for a second, did you see that quote from Embiid after the game where he was asked about like how he's feeling about the team going forward? And it wasn't even like, nobody was setting, this was, I think it was Bontemps that asked this question, but like he was for sure not setting him up to ask for a trade or anything. And Embiid said, you know, I want to retire in Philly, and if that happens, great. But if it doesn't, then you move on. It's like, he brought that up unprompted, which, like, I don't know. Hey, you know what? Jokic for Embiid? Who's to say?
Dude, who's to say? Dude, Jokic, Embiid, Whiteside, 3-team trade? Embiid to Portland?
We should start the dialogue.
Dude, I'm just... hey.
Sign and trade? Wait, do we put Whiteside to Denver at that point, or... And then Embiid to Portland and Jokic for Philly.
Yeah, I think that's the move.
Man, and it's like, okay, Nuggets
just making
Twitter
a trade to only fuck over Denver.
Nuggets Twitter and Nuggets bloggers, you guys are turning on Nikola Jokic. Here you go, have fun with Hassan Whiteside. The Denver media like turning on Jokic is fun too. Like, that's just a subplot that I've been really hating to see personally.
Well, and also, like, you know, the Crown Prince MPJ was like here forever, and then all of a sudden now he's out of the starting lineup again, and he's going to be out of the starting lineup tomorrow. I mean, they're going with Monty Morris and Jeremy Grant. Like, that's what they're rolling with.
He's distracted right now. He had to write his Republican National Convention speech to give over Zoom.
Hey,
like,
who among us?
Like, I don't know, like MPJ is gonna be like he's like a QAnon spokesperson now.
I saw that Gary Harris is questionable, but I don't think he's going to play. It just seems like they're just like trying to get people's hopes up.
It's also like you're trying to get guys who haven't been in shape for this long. Like you're seeing, like, there's a reason, like the Lakers, and maybe it would be different if the series was now tied 2-2. Maybe they would bring Rondo back for the next game. But like, you see the Lakers are just like, you know, they keep saying, okay, Rondo is available, and then he's out, and then he's questionable, and like he's kind of back. But it's like, when it's a guy like that, or, you know, you even saw, you know, going back to, you know, once Zion got through the Amazon Prime quarantine, they were just kind of cautious with him because he just hadn't had a training camp. Like, Gary Harris, Gary Harris is not going to make you guys come back from a 3-1 lead. I'm sorry.
No, and I think people that are like talking about that, it's like, listen, and I understand it. It's like the same thing that, you know, Blazers fans are doing right now, being down 3-1. It's like, if only we had Trevor Ariza. It's like, well, okay.
If only Zach Collins was healthy, which, okay, Zach Collins would help, but Zach Collins isn't the difference between getting blown out by 30 points in 2 of your games and not. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's like, this is what it is. It's like Denver's going to lose this series. I think also Utah has just made the proper adjustments, and Donovan Mitchell has just been amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just absolutely dominated the Nuggets, and I'm looking forward to that series against whoever they face. I mean, right now it's a toss up, but Clippers if it's Clippers, Dallas might win that series. I mean, I would not be surprised.
Oh, I think Dallas is going to win this series at this point. I just we're seeing
on the record. On the record.
Yeah, I'm going for it, man. Fuck it.
Oh my god! Breaking news.
Playoff P, and just Montrez hasn't been good, and just like I really should have been more of a red flag early on how much they missed Patrick Beverley, because like Patrick Beverley is really good, but like
we didn't know how long he was going to be out either, though. We thought that maybe he'd be back.
Well, but just the fact that he's out and they fall apart this much, like that should be like that should be a red flag about how good the rest of the team is. It's like Patrick Beverley is really good, but if you guys need him that much, like what do you do? Like I don't feel great about it.
Yeah, and well, I mean, and I think it's more like okay, back to the vibes. Like, I think it's like Patrick Beverley's not going to stop Luka 1-on-1, but what he is going to do is he's going to fucking charge your team up and be like, we're not going to let these guys fucking beat us, and he's going to like talk shit and get in people's faces and get you an offensive rebound or two.
Bully Kawhi into switching onto Luka in that last possession.
He's kind of like, yes, exactly. He's kind of like the Caruso of the Clippers, where he's just like, he's going to run around, he's going to do some crazy shit, he's going to get you some extra possessions, and he's going to just breathe some life into your team. And they just are missing that life because they don't have that guy without him.
We are the cross-racial NBA podcast. We are the
cross-racial
only podcast
boys.
that is... Yeah, we are the only podcast that is making Alex Caruso, Patrick Beverley comparisons. We're not just comparing
Luka to Larry Bird and being lazy.
Like, we're not just comparing. Well, you want to just talk about like other white scrappy point guards. We're not like, yeah, you know, the guy whose game Alex Caruso reminds me of is T.J. McConnell. Like, no, we're
Dellavedova.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Like Patrick Beverley is actually a really good comparison for Caruso because he's so disruptive defensively, and he's just like a guy who annoys you. Like when he's a guy who like really annoys you when you're on a team that's playing him, but like he's the kind of guy like he makes little plays, and he's not a great shooter, but he can knock down an open three.
Occasionally, he's not a guy you want. Not the guy you want taking the shot, but he's a guy that he's gonna help you win. But he's not like Marcus Smart. Like Marcus Smart's way better than Pat Bev or Caruso. But like Caruso, I feel like Caruso and Pat Bev are very similar type players in that they're not going to break you down off the dribble. They don't really have the confidence to shoot that well, but they're going to help you win just by their energy and their heart and their effort. And not having Pat Bev for the Clippers, I think like. More than the guarding Luka shit, it's a spiritual thing for them because they just don't have. I mean, shit. Okay, this is kind of a hot take, especially because they believed in JaMychal Green. But if you're Doc Rivers and you need some juice, do you throw Joe Noah out there?
I'm all about starting this dialogue. Joe's my guy. I would love it if Joakim Noah saved the Clippers season.
They need some juice, dude. Doc was talking about how they were mentally weak.
Joakim Noah is not mentally weak.
Joe Noah is not mentally weak, bro. I'm
not sure how much he has left physically, but mentally he is like, that's who you want to put in there. If you want to talk about like a guy who's like disruptive in the same way that like among big men, the same way that Pat Beverley is among guards, like that's what Joe is at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know how much they can go to that. Obviously, they like JaMychal, and they're trying to get Montrez in shape. But if Montrez isn't in shape, and you know, Joe's been with them at least he's been practicing, and has been with them for the majority of the time. I don't see the harm at this point in throwing him out there and just trying to get him to wreak some havoc, and you know, maybe let him fight with Boban for a little bit, because Boban is just like, when Boban's in there, it's just like. His efficiency's off the charts. Like Montrez is not bothering him at all in the paint, and like in those minutes, like the Mavs, like people have written about this multiple times, but in the minutes when Luka's not on the floor, the Mavs are killing the Clippers.
And this is without Porzingis in the last game. If he comes back, and I don't know what's going on with his knee, it seems like it's probably not great, but if they're doing this without him, without their second best player, like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think it could be very dicey. I'm excited. I'm also excited that we only have 2 games tomorrow. I'm excited.
Yeah, I have to say I'm very I have enjoyed these last week, but I am glad that we're kind of past the stage where there's 4 games every day. Like I'm okay with it being down to 2 or 3.
Yeah, no, it is truly a good thing that we're condensing the schedule down, that we no longer have these 4 games. I mean, it's part of the reason why I loved going for the float the other day. It was just like, I was able to just like, oh my gosh, to just not watch. I didn't watch the Raptors game or whatever it was yesterday. Like, I was just like, forget it. Like, I'm not going to watch shit. Like, and so I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I think it seems like Portland's done. Yeah, they had a good run, but it does seem like they're done, especially if Dame's knee is not 100. I would say maybe pack it in at this point. Wait for next year. But listen, Oklahoma City, Houston, that's I'm looking for. Obviously, Houston didn't play very well today. Well, they've gotten through these last 2 games these last 4 games, without Russell. I would expect that they try to go one more without trying to bring him back. But I do think that ultimately Houston's still going to win that series.
I'm going the other way. I'm sticking with my Thunder. I thought that was dead in the water after the first 2 games. Now I'm kind of back on the train. My Thunder.
Yeah, no, listen, I
not only that, but my Thunder are beating the Lakers in the second round. Man, the Thunder Conference Finals pick that I was workshopping earlier on this podcast back like a few weeks ago. We're still alive, baby.
Dude, hey, I mean, if you're going to do that, you might as well just say like Thunder to the finals at this point, because it's like they might end up playing the Jazz or something.
Oh, no. Dallas is making the finals. We're getting a Raptors-Mavs finals.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God.
Luka versus... I wish Kawhi was still in the Raptors, so that would be more.
Luka versus Siakam.
Actually, you know what? Luka versus Giannis. Let's do it. The all agenda finals.
Oh my God, that would actually be the coolest finals. Especially, obviously the one that everyone would want to see is LeBron versus Giannis. But
yeah,
I think the all hype final would be Dallas versus Milwaukee for sure.
I've been picking Toronto to win the East the whole season, but I hope that Milwaukee gets there just because I'm already so annoyed with how they've sort of struggled with Orlando in this series, and people are already like taking Giannis and being like, hey, let's like, when is Giannis going to go to the, like, if Milwaukee makes the finals, that just makes it so much easier to imagine that he's going to stay. And I really want him to stay just for the good of the league. I don't want him to just leave.
Well, and the dialogue has already started about Chris Middleton, because like Middleton hasn't had a good series against the which also it's like,
you know what though? Is Chris Middleton an 82-game player and not a 16-game player? It's a fair question to ask.
Listen, that could be a dialogue. I will say the one thing that he's definitely a 16-game player against the Celtics. I don't know what it is when that dude plays the Celtics. He just makes every shot. So, but that won't happen until potentially the conference finals for the Bucks, because it's going to be Raptors Celtics, which, hey, Kyle Lowry's ankle is like the number one thing for me, because okay, the Celtics don't have Gordon Hayward, but that's a loss they can get by with pretty easily. The Raptors, I don't think, can win without Kyle Lowry.
I think he's going to try to play. I don't know how effective he'll be, but I think he's going to try.
If he's compromised, I got Celtics in 6. I hate to say it, but they're just a more, in my opinion, in the playoffs, especially when you can just like really scheme on guys. Like, their defense really has no weaknesses, and their offense, I mean, at least with Jalen, Kemba, and Jason Tatum, they have 3 guys that can all do their thing offensively, and then you have Marcus Smart coming off the bench. Like, I have Celtics in 6. Like, if Lowry's not right, the Celtics are winning that series. As much as I've loved the Raptors, and I will win money if the Raptors win the championship, but I don't like them without Lowry as much as I do, obviously, with them.
Yeah, if they were playing Miami and Jimmy was also limited, and you could say, okay, Lowry and Jimmy kind of cancel each other out. But yeah, if Lowry is hurt for that series, then yeah, I mean, that, because Boston's good.
They're really good. Like Philly was depleted, but like they didn't let them breathe.
No, they were just like, we're not going to mess around here at all.
Right. They did what an elite team does. Like, there's like, we're not here to mess around. Like, we're here for business. And
Tatum's been incredible
on both ends. Like, they put Tybal on him. They put everybody they tried to put on him. He scored no matter what. And then his defense, like, you can't just score on him. Like, I feel like he's grown like 2 inches in the past year, and like his contests are so good. Like, I mean, I hate to be revisiting my old self, but I feel like the Celtics are going to win.
Don't go back down this road.
I feel like they're going to win. I feel like they're going to win the East. Like, this
Don't do it, man. This isn't what we need,
dude. I'm sorry. I know we don't need it, but like they know who they are. Especially in a clutch situation, like I don't feel like they doubt themselves, and like I hate to be that guy, but like I still have my doubts about Milwaukee when it gets tight. Like, who are they?
Spiritually, I can't get there. I can't.
I'm sorry. I had to bring.
Although I will say, Lakers Celtics pretty good for ratings.
A lot of people would hate to see that.
Yeah, they would. So now, just to completely switch subjects, I want to read you some stuff about this guy who's about to buy the Timberwolves.
Oh my gosh! Okay, Okay.
So John Krasinski from The Athletic, who's like the #1 Timberwolves guy, is actually a buddy of mine. Like, I actually shout out to John because I was not affected by the BR Mag shutdown today because I don't really work for the Mag, but John like hit me up to like check in on me because he didn't know that it didn't affect. So like, shout out to John. John's a good dude, and John's like the best guy on the Timberwolves. So
shout out to John.
Yeah. So he's the one. It's him and Shams that are co-authoring this scoop about Daniel Strauss, a former minority owner of the Grizzlies, who's in advanced talks with Glenn Taylor to buy the Timberwolves. So I'm just going to read you this one paragraph from the story. Strauss amassed his fortune in the healthcare field, starting with a handful of nursing homes inherited from his father and eventually building Care One into one of the dominant inpatient providers in the New York area. He is also prominently involved in the health insurance and pharmacy industries and, according to the Strauss Group, is the chairman, CEO, or controlling shareholder of a portfolio of healthcare companies that have revenues in excess of $5 billion.
Wow.
So
totally on the up and up.
Totally. We've got a guy who's trying to profiteer off of the pandemic that killed the star player's mother. This is very tight.
Very, very cool. I love healthcare robber barons. They're the coolest.
I mean, hey, it worked out okay for the Warriors. That's how Joe Lacob made his money.
That's true. He's a quote unquote epidemiologist. That's part of Joe Lacob's new grift and how he is able to borrow a credit line of $250 million because he's a quote unquote epidemiologist.
Wait, I didn't see this part. I did see that they were able to borrow a line of credit, but what is his epidemiology grift? I didn't hear about that.
No, he just like, I don't think that the credit line actually has to do with his epidemiology grift, but he actually like he got his like bachelor's or something in epidemiology.
So that's his news. So that's what he's leaning on. So therefore, he's Dr. Fauci.
He's basically the big Fauci.
Oh, okay, good to know. Man, just all billionaires are bad.
Yes, definitely.
Like this whole thing is so fucked, man.
I mean, I guess this guy's gonna buy the Timberwolves, but hey, I mean, they already just brought in Tillman Fertitta. Like, I could pretend to be shocked, but it's just like anybody who has that many billions
if his money's actually good, that
around,
makes him an upgrade over Tillman.
Yeah, but I mean, at least so you mean if he actually has cash flow?
That's what I mean. If he can afford to make payroll, then he's an upgrade over Tillman Fertitta. Like,
yeah, because Tillman had to probably take a loan out on his restaurant business to like pay James Harden's contract this year.
We do know that literally he leveraged the $2 billion or whatever he paid for the Rockets was like $2.2 billion. He leveraged that against his restaurant businesses, so he literally has no cash flow.
It's pretty tight. If I was the NBA, I'd love to be in business with that guy.
yeah, I mean, you guys should go check out an
Round
episode
Ball
of our buddies at Round Ball Rock. First of all, like they're like the foremost Tolman Fertitta scholars, but they had an episode where they had Henry Abbott on, who's done a lot of work and actual like investigative reporting on Tillman, and they had him on to talk about like he has mob ties that are like not even hidden. It's super cool.
The movie Casino is about the Fertitta family. so like if that needs to tell you anything, you know. So I think so. We did the vibe check. I mean, what other vibe checks do we need to do? We did the Philly vibe check. They fired their coach. Did we do a lottery vibe check? Do we like? I mean, do we?
Yeah. The Bulls are back. First of all,
Bulls are back, but also Minnesota getting a number 1 pick when their team is for sale. Rigged.
I don't know. Just it's worth starting a conversation.
Just gonna keep the third eye open. Like I just say, like the team that is for sale gets the number 1 pick.
I think it would have been there would have been a little bit too much backlash if Golden State had gotten the number 1 pick when they were basically on a gap year. And even though this is a shitty draft and like it doesn't really matter, and they're probably going to trade the pick anyway. But like if Golden State had gotten it this year, it would have been a little bit like Cleveland getting it the year LeBron left.
Well, how much did you love the propaganda though? As soon as they got the number 2 pick, that it's like, okay, Golden State is in the Giannis sweepstakes. Wiggins and the number 2 pick for Giannis.
Look, if you're Milwaukee, I'm sorry. Like I know that like the Bucks owners are like hedge fund guys or whatever. If you're the Bucks, you have to treat this like when the Cavs the first time knew LeBron could leave, or when Oklahoma City knew that Durant would leave. And it's like, you're never going to get full value. They should not trade Giannis. Unless he outright comes out like this offseason and says, I'm not going to re-sign, trade me now, which I don't think Giannis is going to do, because I don't think Giannis wants to be a distraction. If Giannis doesn't outright say he's not going to re-sign, they need to just play it out, because they're better just playing out the year with him and maybe hopefully winning a title than trading him for, you know, Andrew Wiggins or, you know, or whoever, like from whatever, then like, I don't know.
Well, it just became this thing. It was like as soon as they got Wiggins, it was like, well, he has a big contract.
But there's like a reason they had to give up a bunch of picks to like, I don't know.
It's bullshit. But it's just like, listen, I respect them for grifting their way into this conversation purely off of their hubris. So I respect that.
It's like this. It's this world that we live in where like Ben Simmons might not have that much trade value. He might not have as much trade value as Philly thinks, but Giannis, or if Giannis is on the block, I don't know, Andrew Wiggins and a couple of picks, that could be enticing.
Well, yeah, and listen, God bless Blazer fans. Like, there's a lot of Blazer fans that talk to me. It's like, well, hey, you know what? Like, things don't work out. Maybe you trade CJ for Ben Simmons. I'm like, what? Like, Philly's not going to do that shit. I love CJ. I love Ben Simmons. That's never going to happen.
Do you? I mean, this is like shades of 2009 Blazers Edge threads where it's like, hey, Steve Blake and Travis Outlaw for Chris Paul. Who's to say New Orleans wouldn't do that?
I mean, CJ is better than that, but like, but CJ is better than that, but it's more.
That's an Andrew. That's like more of an Andrew Wiggins for Giannis, or Andrew Wiggins for literally any good player type of.
Yeah, exactly. But like, I guess more to the point about like the Ben Simmons thing, it's like Ben Simmons isn't going to get traded for anything less than like a perennial All-Star, and like CJ may be a perennial All-Star level caliber, but he's not going to get people in Philly to, that's not what it's going to get them to make the deal. Like, it's not.
Also, if you're Philly, don't you want to see if you just fired your coach because the fit wasn't good between Simmons and Embiid and Horford? Don't you want to see whoever your next coach, if whatever coach you hire, whether it's Ty Lue or whoever, if this new coach you hired is so great, don't you want to see if they can work it out with two, top 10 players?
That's what I would do. I mean, I would want to keep those two guys together and just figure it out on the margins. Like, I mean, it's hard to find two guys that are that good, period, on the same team.
And I think you can make it work if you just surround Ben with shooters. If you just don't put Al Horford around him, you're fine.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I agree.
Shout out to Al Horford. Shout out to his family. Like, that's like Al Horford.
Yeah. Shout out to Tobias Harris. Hopefully he's feeling better after that concussion.
Which, by the way, he never should have been allowed to come back in that game.
Yeah, where the NBA
he like
people,
slammed
that
his
was
head
way
against the
worse
floor.
than way worse than the Luka one.
Yeah, that was bad. I mean, shout out to his agent though, getting him the bag.
Yeah, no, shout out to Tobias Harris's agent for sure. Shout out to the Sixers and their family. Shout out to the Pacers and their family.
Soon to be shout out to the Magic and their families.
Yeah, probably the Blazers also soon. By the time we get the next podcast, shout out to their families. And shout out to the Nuggets families because they're about to go home.
Yeah. I mean, you hate to see it, but yeah.
Yeah, I feel like this is a good place to end it, and then we'll do
we'll do some more Skip Bayless readings on later.
Our Skip Bayless readings are going to be great.
For those of you who aren't subscribed to the Patreon, we just started doing this new thing where Erik is reading me passages from Skip Bayless's wife's book about how to date a sports fan, and it's phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. It is one of the greatest pieces of literature, and also one of the most sexist things I've ever read in my life. So, it's funny on multiple levels, and it's definitely worth subscribing to hear us talk about it because it's, first of all, you don't have to buy the book. Second of all, it's hilarious when we talk about it. So just subscribe, follow along. It's a good time.
It's good. It's only $3 a month. It's a good deal. You should check it out. It's
double the content.
You do that. Double the content. You get unique content. No other NBA podcast is reading Skip Bayless's wife's book.
Nobody. Ain't nobody reading it. Ain't nobody doing it with blocks.
And yeah, so I mean, I guess that's about it. Other than that, you can subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever else. 5-star reviews. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Highkin. Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Bulls v Blazers. Erik, tell everyone where to check you out.
You can find me on Twitter at Blazer Banter. You can follow my newsletter at blazerbanter.substack.com, where I also have a podcast, and you can follow my writing about the Lakers and LeBron James at lebronwire.usatoday.com.
Yeah, so we will be back later this week with a Patreon episode. Thanks for listening.